Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you Oreste and Clementina for organizing, and of course Jubin, excuse me, for organizing this very interesting dialogue. And I must say 20 years after, we still have to value this kind of exchange we have here, and to value and to understand that issues are still with us and even more challenging than before. And so I'm asking all of you, especially the students, please be awake, be active, because we will need your help in order to save whatever can be saved from today's challenges. Because of course, international law, international organizations as they are today are attacked, challenged, might be disappearing. And that's why we definitely need to highlight three key concepts. The first, respect for life and dignity of every human being in all situations. Second, dialogue. Accept the dialogue with anyone, with every country, every non-state actor, because we need to talk to each other, to listen to each other for reconciliation. Third, solidarity. We not only need values, we need action. And we need actually to understand that we are all interdependent, all keenly interdependent, and whatever actually is happening in the south is of course having consequences in the north, as it was so clearly explained this morning by those two Italian officials. And then, definitely, I would say that we have to have some memory. Remember that all those instruments of international law, remember that all those international organizations have been and are actually the result of painful tragedies, of a painful, a collective painful learning process. And please wonder, do we want to learn it all over again? Do we need a new Solferino, a new Tsushima, a new World War I, World War II? Do we need new genocides? Do we need also other people to make the evidence that torture is ineffective in addition to inhumane? Do we need also to make evidence that bombing civilian populations is actually not militarily interesting? Do we need also to show that actually, yes, bombing hospitals, as my good friend Thomas Nearley was saying this morning, is not only moral, but also might be also one day mostly disadvantageous for your own wounded and sick, and mostly disadvantageous for health in general on this planet. So, indeed, what we need is not only to learn international law and to learn the statutes of international organizations, but we need actually to consider that all those have fundaments. Fundaments, first, of experience, second, human suffering, and also men and women who have been struggling for it and who have been agreeing for it, coming from various civilizations. First, the UN Charter, then also the Universal Declaration, then definitely the 1949 Geneva Conventions, the Refugee Convention, yes, Otto, you were mentioning this, but actually, even if some people could dispute some provisions, the principles are there. The principles are still with us. And same, the Red Cross and Red Crescent fundamental principles are also with us. Humanity, impartiality, neutrality are fundamental principles which now bind not only the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, but all humanitarian organizations. And then the ICC, you could say, what is this International Criminal Court? You know, now Russia and African countries are leaving it. Possibly, but still, it was a dream of lawyers. It was the dream of many people to have an International Criminal Court, and here we are, we have it. Possibly, and certainly, it could function much better, but still, it's also up to every one of us to help and to contribute to this improvement. So, now, in order to give you exact references, I would say if you have only two provisions of international law to remember Common Article 1 and Common Article 3 of the 1949 Geneva Conventions. Because Article 1 states that all contracting parties, meaning that all states, have the obligation to respect for themselves, but to ensure respect collectively those conventions in all circumstances. And I would say, I would extend that not only to states, but also to non-state actors, to private business, to armed groups in various countries, and even to religious leaders. They all have a collective responsibility to ensure respect, not only for humanitarian law, but also for international law in general. And second, second, Article 3. Article 3 clearly also is not only a summary, but is really the core of human rights. The prohibition of extrajudicial killings, the prohibition of torture, and then also the need to let humanitarian workers and medical personnel work, and also to let people in detention have a human treatment. So now, what I would like to say is it's not enough to have treaties. It's not enough to have international organizations, but we need now to have something more. We need to re-anchor those instruments. We need to re-anchor those international organizations, not only in Geneva, not only in New York, in Brussels, in Paris, or elsewhere, but we need to re-anchor them in all civilizations. And that's why I'm putting these civilizations here. Of course, you have Islam, Persia, Judeo-Christianism, Greece, India, Aborigines, China, and Africa. Yes, because they all did contribute. And if you want to address one of those peoples, one person fighting or trying to defend values, you have also to invoke their own values and not only international treaties, whatever they could be. Then, definitely, we need to highlight common values. And that indeed will not be done in one day. That needs to be done also in an inclusive manner, not exclusive. Don't say, oh yes, only Christians, and by the way, only Catholics should be treated decently, you know, and then you exclude all the others. No, not only Christians, but also Muslims, Jews, and whoever, and even if you are a non-believer, you still have the right to a decent and human treatment. And that's why I would say, here I'm quoting Pope Francis, and he says, in place of a global clash of values, it thus becomes possible to start from a nucleus of universally shared values of global cooperation in view of the common good. I would stress two words here: cooperation, common good. Because even if some people don't believe anymore in globalization, you should believe that actually cooperation is good for everyone. Cooperation on the basis of respect, cooperation on the basis of equal benefit. And on this we could work. And on this we could work definitely because what we need is to promote, and indeed, to promote multi-stakeholder dialogues. Not only governments, not only international organizations, not only academia, but also include representatives of victims, war victims, refugees, migrants, local communities, in order to build networks. Networks means horizontal cooperation, not one boss and the others obey, but actually even subsidiarity coming from the grassroots level. And then a universal public conscience. What is needed are not new rules, not new organizations, but actually some political will. And this political will of governments will come through public pressure from public opinion. And then, last week, we had in this very room here, we have a meeting called Humanitarian Networks and Partnership Week. And what was striking is that you had not only speeches, and I'm very happy to be here and to deliver this speech, but still, we had also exchanges in small rooms, and I think we need this. We need to promote informal dialogue, not only at Webster, but also at the UN, at WHO, at ILO, and the High Commissioner for Refugees and Human Rights, and in order to be able to listen also to people from the field. And allow me to give you 3 quotes. One is indeed Albert Camus, as you know, was a Frenchman. He was born in Algeria, he loved France, and he was witnessing both sides using one side terrorism, the other side torture. And he said, no, please, fight for truth, and without destroying it by the very means used to defend it. Se battre pour une vérité en veillant à ne pas la tuer des armes mêmes dont on la défend. Yes, it's your self-interest to behave according to law and according to ethics. Second. And then indeed, you say this interdependence. I don't know, you can build walls, but you will not actually diminish the need for interdependence. And that's why actually we need to find at least fundamental principles of cooperation. Go ahead. And you know, this medical doctor did study the genocidal mentality. And he said, okay, we had a genocide during World War II, very painful, and now we have also a nuclear strategy. Yes, and we now have to become the healers and not the killers of our species. And my last quote, either we live together as brothers and sisters, or we perish as fools. Let's hope that we will find a way to establish this brotherhood and sisterhood and to survive together. Thank you very much.